Underground radio.
What does it mean to be underground? It means you gotta be free to be underground. Yo, you got your own key when you're underground. If you're listening to me, yo, you underground.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Connected W Cari here on Just TV, Just FM, Underground Radio C. We are live through Underground Radio C YouTube, which has been up and running for a little while. So go like, subscribe there. Also the Just TV, Just TV, Just FM. It's kind of like you'll find them sort of both collaborated into one YouTube. So head on over there and you can like, follow, subscribe, do the things over there. We are also live through Meta TV. Again, Meta TV has been newly added. I'd say we've had it now for almost 3 months. My time is just horrible. Like I think, winter was yesterday. Time is going by so fast. So we may have had Meta TV probably for 4 months, and I'm just guessing. So Meta TV is not your regular, we know Meta as like our social media platforms, but this is Meta TV, where we actually stream our shows through and it goes over to Italy, just like the NCG television network in Italy as well, that we've been always going through, who are amazing. And we've had a couple guests from Italy on before. So those of you in Italy, I always love to say good morning to you guys over there because it is 3 a.m. And I just hope you're having a beautiful Sunday, because here in Calgary, we've had a lot of water, a lot of rain. You can tell my hair is all frizzy, which means it is humid and it's like wet. So bear with us as we have bad hair days, and that's all good, right? So we are now approaching the end of July. I may or may not have one more Connected W Cari show next week. However, for August, August will be the end of season 10, and then season 11 will resume in September, probably after the first week of September, because everyone's back to school. There's Labor Day, all that good fun stuff. So we want to make sure we're settled and we're back into the grind. So there's that. However, the Shift Happens show with myself and Dina will be continuing. So our next show will be this Wednesday the following Wednesday, that'll be coming up. So you can join us. We're going to do weight shifts. So on mindset, on your different, body weight, and we're just going to talk about like self-image, things like that. So that'll be fun and interesting. You can join us for that, because I won't be very far. I'll still be kicking around, but just making sure I've got a break between seasons, because as it is, I do believe we are approaching, I think this is my 28th or 29th show in season 10, which is a very, very long season. Usually I have about 20 spots per season, but this one was like so back to back. It's been crazy. So I've been trying to fit people in that have actually been literally, like my guest I had a couple weeks ago, she was booked in a year ago. So I'm trying to honor everybody and get them in while I can. And then of course, season 11 is going to be up and coming, and I've got people back to back to back. However, if you do want to be on the show, can you please contact me as soon as possible so I can schedule you in, because as of now, I am scheduling into like January. So let's get on the ball. Let's have some fun. This evening, we are introducing, I know I did it a couple weeks ago, but I have another guest on from the Culture Revolution book. If you've been following along, this has been a book tour that's been in the works for about a year now. So we've been talking about business culture. We've had different authors coming on, because there's 13 different authors for this book. However, not each of them have a chapter. There's been a couple co-authors for one chapter. Like there's a couple chapters that have 2 authors, so which is pretty cool. We've had already one of those chapters on back last year. So we're trying to get those guys in so you guys can go and get the books and enjoy it. Myself, I've been loving having these guests on, because I'm learning more and more about different work culture, which has been interesting, because some of us are entrepreneurs, some of us work in an office and it's day-to-day sort of grind. then when these, different authors have been coming on, they're giving us an insight to what they've kind of lived through, their stories through workplace culture. So it's been very interesting and really a lot of good tips and some really funny moments as well. So, I mean, there's been office stories floating around and it's quite funny. And when I think of The Office, I think of the TV show The Office. And I don't know about you, but it was so funny to watch. But without further ado, I'm going to have my beautiful guest join us. Hello.
Hi, Carrie.
Cher McArthur is joining us this evening. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Are you keeping dry?
I am. I'm staying indoors now. Went out and did everything earlier so that don't have to go anywhere this evening.
That's good because it's now, like you said, it's approaching. The storms a brewing.
Yeah.
It's coming
Hopefully
in.
we won't have any power issues or anything, but
No, I've been actually watching my Wi-Fi and it's been a little picky right now. So I'm just like, I'll keep an eye on that, but that's okay. So please share. I would love for you to just, first of all, do a full introduction of who you are, just kind of a little bit about what you do, how you got into your business. And then we're going to go into, of course, she's an entrepreneur. I'll just throw that out there. So you can introduce your company as well, because that's a bit of what your book is based on or your chapters based on. And then we'll get into, a little bit more about the book and all that stuff. So please take it away.
okay. Thanks, Carrie. My name's Cher McArthur, as Carrie introduced me. I have a company called Humming Bee. I'm an HR strategist and an executive coach. So we work with businesses who a lot of times they're looking to scale up and they are not sure quite how to do that. So it's making sure that they understand some of the pitfalls of having a staff and making sure they bring in the right people at the right times, and that they exit the wrong people at the right times, and that they do all of those activities well. People knowing what they're responsible for within their business and making sure that things are streamlined, and that I often will call it McDonald's-ify the organization, so that they've got a map for continuing ongoing success that's predictable. And so working in this environment, I've had the business since January 2020, and there's a team of us and we have different areas of expertise and specialization. I got into that because I had 20 years roughly in human resources and leadership roles, and it just felt like the right move to have my own business and work with other people who are the best at what they do. And if I'm honest, I didn't always trust HR and the HR departments. So I wanted to be the trusted resource where integrity is the number one thing. We're supposed to be the ones who uphold integrity in an organization and have the values, and that isn't always the case. So we'll get engaged and involved in audits of other HR departments and that sort of thing as well. Making sure that, and it's been in the news all over the place lately with this HR professional who was in a very senior position and a trusted position and having an affair with the CEO. So we know that there's a lot of dodgy stuff that goes on. Like, we want to trust our HR folks, but it's not always easy.
I didn't know that there was a story going around. This is me on social media.
Oh wow, it is everywhere. Yeah.
See,
and
I'm on social media because I post my stories and I post my shows and everything like that. There's the odd time I'm actually scrolling and I'm liking a few things. People that follow me or people that are my friends, they'll kind of know when I'm on because I like a whole bunch of things and then I disappear for like a couple days. So some stories, like even real quick, like the Hulk Hogan when he passed away.
yeah.
I didn't see it till probably like the end of the day. And I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't even
Ozzy.
know. And yeah. So all those, I didn't even know. And then,
Iconic.
yeah. So it's really interesting. But yeah, I didn't even know that there was, I mean, typically there can be
I can
workplace
send you
issues.
things.
Oh, sure. You can
It
send me
was
things
a
after.
Coldplay concert, and they had the kiss cam
Oh, I
and
saw that
panned
one.
across,
Yeah.
and that couple was CEO and
Oh,
their
that
head of
HR.
business, or their head of people and culture, whatever the title is. It's HR. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That story. Okay, obviously, I
Yeah.
saw that one. I
And
thought
so
maybe
there are a
there
lot
was
of
another
jokes
one.
about we didn't trust HR before, of course, and yeah, and her career unfortunately won't bounce back as quickly as his.
Yeah, yeah. So we have to really, take into consideration when we step into an HR role, how are we doing that? Are we being professional about it? And, people will come to you when you're in HR and they'll have complaints and they're going to have issues. And how do we work with that? And how do we take into consideration if we think, oh, they just keep coming with issues and the complaints and complaints and complaints. So should we be taking those complaints seriously? What have you seen in your, 20 years of HR?
So many things. I think inconsistency is the biggest complaint that people have. There's unfair treatment from one person to the next. And I can appreciate that a lot of folks, they want to have this, well, case by case basis. Well, this person had a good argument for this thing, or this person came to us and asked for a raise, and this person didn't, so we didn't give them a raise, and now they quit. And we told them, well, we'll give you a raise now, or these sorts of things where, and that happens a lot in smaller organizations, larger organizations, and that the reason they're larger and the reason they're successful is because it doesn't matter who you are, where you came from, what gender you are, what your sexual orientation is,
Yeah.
race, religion, whatever. Nobody cares. What job are you doing? And what is the value of that job? And so that becomes a more strategic HR piece where companies, when they get larger, they really need that. Like, what does this role pay? And there's a band for that. If you're really great at that job, or if you're just learning that job, then what does it pay? And companies, a lot of time, they hesitate to implement those types of things because it's too much structure, and they get to that size where there's a lot of those pain points. And but
Mhm.
unfortunately, they lose a lot of great people because some people just aren't the kind of people to come forward and ask for the raise, or to ask for the thing that the other person next to them got.
Right.
And I would say inconsistency, that unfairness and inconsistency kills businesses over and over and over again on the people side. And
Mm.
without great people, your business is in trouble.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I think it is very important to also keep your HR up to date on everything, what's going on, what's happening, and so they're actually prepared in advance,
Policies. Yeah.
right?
I
Your
understand the
policies.
law side of things, and like where a company could be vulnerable,
Mhm.
and where their employees could, maybe they're doing too much in some cases for their employees, and they've got an employee that's really not doing the right things, but they know it's protected grounds. This person maybe has a mental health issue, or they have a physical health issue, or they're addicted to a substance, and that's all protected grounds. And so
Okay.
some businesses are so concerned about making sure that that person is taken care of, and they understand it's protected grounds, but they don't understand their rights and responsibilities equally. So they'll think,
Right.
I have an obligation to support this person, but you don't have an obligation to support them if they're not supporting themselves, or they're not getting better, or they're not doing the right activities, et cetera, et cetera. So
Right.
then other people see that and think this person's getting special treatment. And there are cases
Mhm.
where people should get special treatment, but there are cases where they shouldn't. And
Right.
I think employers, they're trying to run their businesses. They're experts at that. They don't
Right.
know these nuanced things and what's changed in the with the legislation around employees and what their obligations are. And sometimes they go too far, sometimes they don't go far enough.
Yeah. Oh my
And
goodness.
with smaller businesses, they don't have a full HR department. Maybe they'll hire a junior person that they don't really know either.
Yeah.
Uh, that's usually the first hire. When you get to around that 80 people to 100 people, now you figure you got to have an in-house HR person, but
Right.
they can't
Yeah.
be an expert in everything.
Right. So you think when you have about 80 people, that's when you should hire an HR or
It depends on the business.
okay. All
And
right.
some businesses, they can get to 150 people. They don't ever need to have an HR person. It just really depends on the business. There are a lot of reasons to have an HR person in-house,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
then supplement with an organization like mine where we get involved. We'll set up a lot of the systems and processes, and then that
Okay.
more junior person can keep doing all those activities because it's already set up. And they'll tweak it, and as they get better at their role, they'll come up with ideas, and that's great. And they can take on more and more and more, and we'll support them and mentor them through that.
Yeah.
And that works out well.
Nice. Okay. So I know, we did a meeting beforehand. I usually do that with all my guests that come on. And so Cher gave me a few, couple little notes, and I do want to make sure that we do go through them because I think they are important. So we did cover a couple, but I do want to know because you had said, to ask you, like, what are some examples in organizations that can be avoided, right? So we just sort of touched on that, but what else do you think?
Um,
What other
I'd say
issues?
the
Like,
pay equity piece is huge. Pay equity is, and it's now it's legislatively required. Like if you're ever audited and the
yeah,
government says, "Oh, let's look at your books," like this person is claiming that there's discrimination based on whatever criteria they come up with. Maybe it's a disability, and the employer might not even know that that person has a disability. And now
okay.
this person is saying, "I'm disabled and I'm making this amount," and this person next to me, and we're doing the exact same job. If you can't
Mm,
justify that on the pay equity side of things, you could be in trouble. But there are a lot
oh,
of other things where people think they're doing the right things. They're doing, I think and that was the point of my chapter, largely is you can be kind of a jerk and run a business, and you don't have to be the nicest, warmest, fuzziest person. You don't have to be running around high-fiving everyone, telling them they're doing the best job. You don't have to Ted Lasso all over everyone all the time. I mean, it's cool if you can do that, but if you can't, just be you
yeah,
and sure that your processes are fair and equitable and everyone has the opportunity to be promoted. Everyone has the opportunity for time off at the same time. Everyone has all the things that people care about, that it's fairly applied. And a lot of
right,
companies will say, "Oh, but this person went through this really tough time. So we did all these kinds of things." That's great. And you should during those really tough times. But then the person next to them that asked for it, you don't give them the exact same thing when they're not going through something particular, or like otherwise it becomes a
yeah,
free. So I guess there's that
right,
line where is it a free for all that people are just making up their own hours now, or they're doing whatever, or you give someone a
right,
concession for a period of time? We had a hard time finding childcare. Okay, great. That's a reasonable thing for this period of time. And then you say, we'll give you a couple of months to figure that stuff out. But I've talked to clients where it's 4 years later, 5 years later, and now that person is still getting these special treatments of they can work these flex hours where other people have to come in at a different time because
yeah,
they made an arrangement at one point. The kid's not even in that school anymore. The kid is like, things have completely changed with the person's like, yeah, I figured that out before and I got what I wanted. And so it's making sure that it's just make sure it's fair, and make sure that when a new person comes in, they don't go, "How did that guy get that thing and that
yeah,
person didn't? And how do I get that?" And
yeah,
it just optically, it's got to be a certain way. And sometimes I would say that the nice people, the really kind-hearted people, are the ones that end up being jerks, and they don't mean to be because
yeah.
they're doing things that aren't fair.
Uh, I think also, when you're an employee, I don't know. I would say now it's being more normalized where you can actually go to your boss and say, "Hey, these are some of the things that are coming." I would say, we know summertime it isn't bad. Maybe kids are in daycare or like camps or something and they're gone for a week, but then summertime or summer's over, we go back into fall, school's back in, and it's like, "Oh, I need to leave the office at 3 to go get my kid for 3:30." Have those talks with your boss beforehand. So like now summertime, okay, yeah, it's cool. You can, there's after camp daycare stuff and they're good till 5, whereas, school's out earlier. So, we need to as employees talk to your boss and go,
Yeah.
hey, these are the things that are coming up. So they have a little bit of heads up. So maybe they can fill your hour or 2 hours while you're gone with somebody else, or you can swap, you know, some
There are
hours with
ways
a
to be
couple people.
flexible that make
Yeah,
sense. And there are things that for some
yeah,
employees, it's like maybe you're an 80% person instead of a 100% person. If you can't work those full hours, then how do we make sure that there's a flexible thing for those folks But if they're blowing off 2 hours earlier than most people on certain
Yeah.
days, and nobody's being compensated any differently, now we've got a problem. And that's
Right.
what seems to happen. Like it's absolutely fine, and I'll recommend all day long, make concessions for people, but make sure that that's attached to compensation somehow. So now if you're 60% and you're only able to work these hours, or you're 80%, you're only able to work these hours, that's great. And
Yeah.
then your income is going to reflect that. And if it makes more sense for you for your family situation right now, you can always adjust it when your family situation changes. That's
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be a jerk. Like, there are a lot of reasons why a person would need a temporary accommodation or whatever. Just make sure that it's fair for people and that everyone's
Right.
getting their needs met. But if you've got two people that are doing the identical job and they're getting paid identically, and one of them is gone for 2 hours more of each day, they're
Right.
only there 60, 80, whatever percent of their time,
Right.
they're only there, then it's not fair.
Yeah. Oh,
Or
yeah,
if you've
I
got
totally
one
agree.
person who's killing it in that job and they're absolutely doing everything, and then you hire a brand new person, and this happens a lot in small companies, depending on what's happening in the market. You've got this person who's been there for years, they're training the more junior person, and they hire the junior person at a higher rate because the market is requiring them to hire at a higher rate, but they
Oh,
don't elevate the other person's salary.
hmm.
Happens
Okay.
often.
Right.
This person just negotiated really well when they came in, but if the other person's got to train them and they're the seasoned professional in this space,
Yeah.
why aren't they making more?
No, I totally agree. I totally agree, and it also goes to when, hiring both genders too. So if, like, say there's construction or there's, you know, even sports nowadays, are we paying everybody the fair wage when they're putting in the exact same work as whoever's
Sports is a
doing the job?
unique one. If
Sports is a
women
very unique
supported
one,
women in
very hard.
sports and there were as many people in the stands, then women could get paid more. But women don't support other women. Men support
Yeah.
men. Women don't support women. So you can't expect it. I
Yeah,
sound
it's
like Bill
hard.
Burr a little bit there, but like, really,
It's hard.
you,
That's in a whole nother
that's
conversation
a
because, oh
separate
my goodness.
thing where you can't ask for more if nobody's
Yeah,
supporting you. If you're
that's right.
ultimately you're not getting those marketing dollars, you're not getting any of that sponsorship, you're not getting any of those things.
There we
Nobody's coming
go.
to watch. Nobody's turning the TV or whatever on there. Nobody's streaming those
Yeah,
athletes. So it may not be fair, and it isn't fair. But the
yeah,
way it gets fair is that we start to support women in those spaces, and then. But if you're two women engineers, and we work with a lot of engineering companies, if you're a woman engineer and a man engineer, you ought to
yeah.
get the same opportunities and the same pay and the same everything if you're doing the same role.
Work,
If you're
yeah,
not doing the same role, and frankly, if the guy's a better performer, okay, great. The guy's a better performer, then pay him more. That's fine. But you've got to be able to justify
yeah,
it.
yeah. Oh, I agree. I totally agree. Okay, real quick, we're going to touch over why leaders make costly mistakes or sometimes make costly mistakes. I want to dig a little bit into the chapter as well after that. This is all based on, what your chapter is about, but I do want to kind of go over your chapter a little bit more in detail. So if you can give me just two quick examples of some costly mistakes.
Oh, there's so many. There are a lot that are, I would say the number one most costly mistake that I've been seeing lately is that companies aren't crystal clear on what their folks are responsible for. So
Oh,
you'll have a company's grown and say it was 20 people and now it's 50, or
yeah.
it's 50 people and now it's 100, whatever it is, it's grown significantly. And the job that person was hired to was this, and now it's something over here. You haven't revised those job descriptions. The person thinks they were temporarily doing one job because that was somebody else's and that person quit, and now they've taken over this piece and that piece and whatever. And so the person's not crystal clear, and a lot of times things are dropping. So you've got responsibilities to your clients, and
Yeah.
sometimes those obligations aren't being met because nobody knows who owns them. It's not clearly documented. So I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts recently and Kevin O'Leary was being interviewed. And anyone who's
Okay.
ever listened to Kevin O'Leary, he's a dick. But to his credit, he's a brilliant business guy. and he's not stupid. And he said, I don't care if people like me. I care if people respect me. Bang on. And like you can be liked or not liked, but be respected and be fair and decent and whatever. And he was saying, if you are, because our company is Humming Bee, this really spoke to me. He said, if you're the queen bee, which means you're the CEO, the president, the whatever, you need to make sure that everyone in your hive knows exactly what you want them to do and that they're out there executing it. And I would say that's the number one thing that companies don't do. And that's why we do a lot of leadership training and getting people on that same page so that everyone knows what they're responsible for. Everyone knows that the leadership team, they're all in agreement. And I would say that's the other thing, that there's misalignment at the leadership team. So one person is saying, oh, go do this. And then they talk to another leader and they'll say, oh, no, go do that thing over there. And now you're wasting people's time all over the place. I would say, though, those are the most costly mistakes, is people not being crystal clear on what their job is. And then that the leadership isn't clear on what their job is either. And they're not aligned. So they've got different visions of how the work should be done.
Yeah. It goes back to like when kids can't get something. So they ask, like, they'll go ask dad. Dad says no. And then they're like, I'm going to go ask mom.
Yeah.
Mom will cave in, right? And then they go and ask mom, and mom gives in. She's like, oh, yeah, you can go ahead. And then after, then dad goes, you weren't supposed to let them go and do that or whatever.
Because they're not talking.
Yeah.
And it's a sign of an unhealthy marriage. And it's a sign of, like, I love all the relationship, like the podcasts on relationships and the books on relationships and all the research on that, because it translates into the workplace. Yeah. So if mom and dad don't know what's going on and business partners don't know what's going on, like, you need to be communicating with each other. You meet and you can disagree and swear at each other and do whatever you want in the meeting. I don't care. I'm HR. I'm supposed to care. I don't care. As long as everyone feels everyone's on the same page, if nobody disagrees with it and nobody's offended, really, then keep going. Call each other.
As long as cans aren't really flying and
nobody's getting physically injured or there's no whatever. Game on. Say whatever. But once you walk out of that room, you're aligned and you've come to an agreement. And this is how we're going to proceed with this. This is the next plan. This is what we've decided is the profitable area of our business that we're focusing on. And everyone knows that that's a primary focus.
Right. And that's it. You want to have your employees going, okay, we can't break this wall. Like, there's no, they're both firm. They're both going to say the exact same thing. So if one employee goes over and asks a question, they'll be able to reply and give that same answer to every single person in the office, and another person go ask, and it will be the same all the way around. So we want to have, like you said, that alignment, and then it's like, okay, no more questions, we're good. And then that just tells me, like, it reminds me of just like an officer, like everything's in place, everything's firm. We're like, it all moves smoothly like a machine. It's all in place. We got the orders, and it's like perfect. It's just, it goes.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Okay, it takes the ambiguity out of it. It takes the confusion away. And then people can just focus on their work. And they don't have to love their bosses, but they know exactly what's expected of them by both their bosses or 10 of their bosses, however many people. And no one should have more than one person that they directly report to. But in smaller organizations, that does happen. They need to be aligned. That leadership team needs to be aligned. There's a brilliant, Lencioni says that when leadership isn't aligned, the rest of the staff are left to fight bloody and unwinnable battles. That's how he frames it. And I love that, because it's absolutely true. Like, now you're not sure where you're going, and you've got this group that's against this group, and you're not one team anymore. Now you're
inter-office battles, and people are talking behind each other's backs, and that's a mess.
It creates a lot of mess. And sometimes they're really well-meaning folks on both sides. Everybody's a lovely person. They're just not aligned, and they're not focused on what's best for the business.
Yeah, we don't want to have that. Okay, so all this stuff we did talk about is in your chapter, but I want to know kind of like the layout of your chapter.
Probably not. The chapter's short.
Yeah, that's okay, because we only have quickly for the rest. We don't know, like, you don't have to give the whole thing away, but just a little bit of, did you write it as like a story, or was it just more, facts or whatever? How was kind of like the layout of that chapter?
I put some examples of things that frequently happen in businesses, and
Okay.
then what,
From your perspective?
yeah, things that I've witnessed over the years, and I'm getting a little long in the tooth. So I've
Okay.
witnessed these things time and time again.
Okay.
And there's the way of handling it that makes sense, it's gonna really help folks out. And there's a way that's gonna absolutely upset everyone. So if you want to upset everyone, there are some really great ways to do it.
Okay,
And
give us
so
one
I've
example.
pointed those out.
Well, I know we kind of touched on things, but one just like this is the 100%, it's gonna.
Well, if you tell and I've seen this so many times, we have a hiring freeze. We're not hiring anyone else. We don't have a budget for new people in the department. There's no money. And instead of going back and saying, I've got this person that I really like to bring into the business. How do you feel about it? To the person, your manager beneath
Right.
you, if you're the president and you've got a manager beneath you, but this person that's like, I know we don't have that, like owning that you said you weren't going to hire anybody else. And now you're thinking, but this person is a rock star. I want to bring them in. So how do you feel about having this person on your team? I'd like you to interview them. But instead, what companies will do is they'll just say, oh, this person is going to report to you now. I'm bringing them in. They lost their job and I think they'll be good and whatever. And they pick their person's team for them, and they
Right.
don't give them any say. They have no autonomy. So now you've cut the person's legs off. They can't do their job. And now they're responsible for a department, but you haven't allowed them to really be responsible for that department. So the success or failure of the department, they own the responsibility of it. And now you're going to hold them accountable to it. Their bonus is based on that. But you just threw them a team member that they didn't even get to choose. And you told them that there was a hiring freeze. And so they couldn't hire anyone else. And now they're stuck with some person because it was a friend of yours or it was a whatever. And and those kinds of things happen a lot. And there are ways that you can do that where somebody comes in, you're like, this person's fantastic. I'd love for you to interview them. Like you have the say because it's your team, but you give that person the autonomy.
So a little bit of favoritism going on in the workplace is not the greatest
All the time.
right. And it goes back to like the favors again, like, oh, I want to leave early or this or that. Okay, well, if 5 people can do that, can everybody else do that? Are we all on the same page, right? So that all goes back to the alignment and everything. Perfect. Okay, where can we find you?
Well,
Well,
our website
if anyone wants Cher's services, which we covered at the very beginning of what Cher does and all our beautiful things and all that stuff. So, but where can they contact you to be able to get hold of you if they do need your services?
info@hummingbee.ca is the website for general inquiries, and hummingbee.ca is our website, which is under construction, but there's still something there. But in the next few weeks, we'll have a new version. It's been 5.5, coming up on 6 years that we've been in business, so it was time for a facelift.
Yeah. Oh, okay, that's good. Yeah, so they may not find you right there right now, but
Oh yeah, we're there. It's just it's a bit old.
Oh, okay.
And so a lot of our services that we offer, they're not, it hasn't been updated. It's pretty basic on the website at the minute, but that's okay.
Because sometimes you can type in a website and then it says, oops, sorry, under construction
Oh
or
no,
whatever like that. So it's there, but it's just not updated, basically.
Yeah.
Cool.
But
Okay.
stay tuned. It'll be much more fun soon. Yeah.
Much more fun soon. Are there going to be games?
No, that's a good idea though. There should be HR games.
Yeah.
Or leadership games. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of like what Enta Solutions does. They do games in their workplace, don't they?
They do games. Well, in their workplace, but on their website, I don't think. I haven't seen anything there. Okay.
Well, you incorporate that and you can put at the bottom courtessy of.
Right? Yeah. Throw in some kind of
I'll be right in there and I'll be playing some games. Can you just put my name in as like the leaderboard, like the leader, and then everyone has to try and bump me?
Right? There's an idea. Yeah. Start off as you're the one to beat.
That would be really fun. On that note, thank you, Cher, for coming on and sharing all your information and what you have to say. If you guys are watching the replay, you have questions for Cher, by all means, you can either throw them in the chat here, or you can either contact myself and I can contact her, or you can contact her directly. However it works for you, we will get back to you as best as we can. And yeah, I think, HR is just such a wide variety of topics. It's like one of those things. So it can be kind of ever changing. So if there's like one topic someone needs to know about HR, feel free to Google it, or find Cher and go, hey, how do we do this? And let's
and I acknowledge I'm not the expert on everything. That's why we've got a team that everyone has their area of expertise.
Exactly. So you'll keep Cher on her toes.
That's right.
Absolutely. Okay, thanks, Cher, for coming on. We will.
Thanks so much, Carrie.
Okay, have a great night.
Ciao, ciao to Italy.
Ciao, ciao to Italy. There we have it, guys. Another Connected with Cari in the books here on July 26th, getting near the end of, really near the end of July. So it's pretty crazy. Thank you, everyone, who tuned in this show for Connected with Cari. Oh my goodness. Can you tell? It's like the end of the day. It's going crazy. So with that, I want to say, make sure that you guys do tune in for the Shift Happens show, which will be on Wednesday. And then, if you guys want to be on the show, please contact myself as well, Underground Radio. So you can find me on Instagram and or Facebook, or you can email me, radioc.contact@gmail.com. If you guys want to come on the show, we will make a little one-on-one meet and greet, and we can discuss things and go from there. Thank you for tuning in this evening. Again, if you guys have any questions for Cher, or any questions on HR, really, you can contact us and we will try and answer your questions. I don't know. With that, I don't know too much on HR, but I just know, like, if you have any questions, just, ask. That's the biggest thing, I think. Absolutely. So with that, everyone, have a great, wonderful weekend. If you're in Calgary, stay dry. I will be down at Day of the Dog tomorrow. And if you're down there, come say hi. With that, have a great evening and stay connected. Good night.